There is one stat that can make an awful player prop look almost impossible to lose: the last 10 hit rate. You open the board, see that a player has gone over in 8 of his last 10 games, and suddenly the pick feels obvious. The green boxes are lined up, the trend looks clean, the number looks safe. But an 8 of 10 record is not an 80% probability that the next bet will win. It is only a description of what happened against a collection of past lines, in a collection of past situations. If you do not know what those lines were, what changed around the player, or what you have to pay today, the stat can be telling you much less than it appears to. Imagine a scorer who finished with 23, 25, 21, 27, and 24 points over 5 games. If his lines were sitting around 20.5, that stretch looks incredible. Almost every result clears comfortably. But if the next line is 24.5, the same recent scoring sample suddenly tells a different story. The player did not get worse. The threshold got higher. That is why a last 10 hit rate can be misleading. It compresses every past result into a yes or no, then removes the distance between the result and the line. A game that finishes 1 point over counts exactly the same as a game that finishes 10 points over. A game that misses by 1 counts the same as a game that misses by 12. The stat looks precise because it is written as a percentage, but it may be hiding the most important information in the entire bet: how close those games actually were, and whether today's number is still the same number. When a player is suddenly trending over, the market usually notices too. That can show up as a line moving from 20.5 to 22.5, a price getting more expensive, or a projection being shaded toward the popular side. By the time the 8 of 10 graphic reaches your screen, you may not be buying the old situation that produced the trend. You may be paying for the attention the trend created. The second problem is that last 10 records are incredibly easy to select after the fact. If you look across enough games, enough players, and enough stat categories, you will find attractive streaks. Then it is tempting to choose the window that tells the best story. Last 10 looks strong. Last 8 looks even stronger. Last 5 is perfect. The window did not predict the streak. The streak helped you choose the window. One game also changes the math more than people realize. An 8 of 10 record becomes 7 of 10 after one miss. That is a 10 percentage point swing without the player, matchup, or season changing at all. On a small sample, the headline number is often more sensitive to the starting point than to the underlying skill. And even when the record is calculated honestly, it can still blend together situations that should not be blended. A player may have been starting in 6 of those games and coming off the bench in 4. The team may have lost a creator, changed its rotation, or faced a completely different set of opponents. A baseball hitter may have seen a different mix of pitchers. A basketball player may have gained minutes because of an injury that has now been resolved. A football receiver may have been playing from behind every week, creating volume that is not guaranteed in the next matchup. The hit rate does not know which explanation matters. It just counts the result. The third problem is price. A hit rate tells you how often past outcomes cleared a threshold. It does not tell you what the next bet costs. That distinction matters because a good prediction and a good wager are not identical. If the market is offering a generous price because the situation is uncertain, a moderate edge can be valuable. If the line has already moved and the price reflects the popular trend, a much higher hit rate may be required just to justify the entry. On a player prop platform, the payout is part of that price. The same player, the same projection, and the same 8 of 10 record can produce a completely different decision depending on the available line, modifier, payout structure, or entry format. The stat may tell you that the past was favorable. It does not tell you whether the current offer is favorable. This is also the exact kind of situation where I use ProfessorParlay, pronounced Parlay, before trusting a trend. ProfessorParlay is built to evaluate sports bets in live context. So the question is not just whether a player cleared the number recently. It can check the current line against the recent sample, look at injuries and confirmed lineups, track role and workload, evaluate the matchup, and surface the context behind the results. You can use one model when you want a focused opinion, or compare several models when you want disagreement exposed. The important part is that the analysis can learn from previous misses instead of treating every new streak like it exists in a vacuum. That makes it much easier to spot when the attractive stat is supported by a real change, and when it is simply an old result being presented as a current edge. You can try that at ParlayCC. Before I treat an 8 of 10 record as meaningful, I run it through 4 questions. First, Were those past games tested against the same line I am being offered today? If the historical line was lower, the record may be describing an easier bet than the one on my screen. Second, is the player's role actually stable? Minutes, usage, batting order, routes, touches, and opportunities matter more than the color of a trend card. If the role changed, the sample needs to be separated instead of averaged together. Third, am I looking at the full relevant sample or the best looking slice? A recent run can be useful, but it should be compared with the broader distribution. If the only reason the pick looks strong is that I started counting on the first game of the streak, that is not analysis. It is selection bias with a percentage attached. Fourth, what is the price? What does the entry pay? And what hit rate would make that payout worthwhile? If the number moved because everyone noticed the same trend, the market may have already charged me for the information. The practical takeaway is not to throw away last 10 records. They can be a useful alert. They can tell you where to investigate. They can help you notice a player whose opportunity or form deserves a closer look. When a prop shows 8 of 10, do not ask only, how often did this happen? Ask what line those results cleared, why the results happened, whether the player's current role matches the sample, and what price is available now. The stat that makes bad props look safe is not dangerous because it is always wrong. It is dangerous because it is simple enough to replace the work that would make the bet understandable. Use the hit rate as a clue, then test the process, the context, and the price. That is how you find out whether a prop is actually strong, or whether a clean-looking number is just hiding the risk in plain sight. This is for education and entertainment only. Sports betting involves risk, and no stat or tool guarantees a winning result.